It's the 4th of July. We're going to take this truck up in the hills. The week of 4th of July in the White Mountains. We've been working on this truck since November. When we got it, and it came from Illinois or Idaho or Iowa or one of the I states, I don't know. But we had it brought to Phoenix and we've been working on it. When we got it, it was a complete basket case. It had a 360 in it, leaked everywhere. Maybe it started, maybe it didn't, had a ton of electrical issues. The brakes were completely shot. Your stopping power was provided by rust and some loose springs that were not in the right place. It was a disaster. Tires were shot. It was a mess. So we went through, we put a 460 in it, rebuilt the MP435 transmission. We rebuilt the Dana 24 transfer case, put in a American Autowire harness. We've got a complete kit for an F-Series from American Autowire. Rewired this whole thing, put in Dakota Digital gauges, and set this thing up right. We put some new tires on it, some mud and snow, period correct tires, and for all intents and purposes, turns out this truck was a one of one. So we tried to keep it as original as possible. Didn't want to change too much, but I just wanted to make it reliable and set it up for some fun. So let me take you through it. So starting from under here, as I said, we rebuilt the MP435 transmission, and we used an L&L products to mate the 460 to the MP435, and I'll talk a little bit about that kit in just a second. It had an original Dana 24 transfer case. We rebuilt that. It's a divorce configuration. We treated the frame rails underneath here. We didn't do anything with the cab and the body. You can see there's a little bit of rust spots here and there. We'll patch those up at some point. But we wanted to just get this thing on the road and driving again. So it has a Dana 60, pretty common with these. This is pretty textbook for a 72 F-250 in terms of options. This was actually a factory air truck, and it also had what made it a one of one is the sliding window in the back, which we'll see up top. But it was pretty textbook in terms of Dana 60, Dana 60 rear end, 410 gears, and Dana 24 transfer case, MP435 transmission 4-speed, so great for rock crawling and some really rough country, which will up here in the White Mountains, we're hoping to find some rough terrain we can kind of check it all out on, have some fun. And then Dana 44 6F up front. Let's move up there a little bit. So the 460 that we got, if I can pan you guys over here. The 460 that we have was a 69 460, came out of a Lincoln, and so it's the good 460. It's the good 385 series block that everyone likes. Let's go out and take a look at it actually. All right, so let me take you through this. Let me just set you down here for a second. All right, so originally came with a 360, so we pulled this 460 from a Lincoln, 69 Lincoln. So it's the good closed chamber valves, high compression performance engine, at least for the time anyway. So like 385 horsepower. This has also been stroked out to a 515. So we stroked it. So we've got an 8.3, 8.4 liter engine. Probably makes like 505 horsepower. Um, we put in a electronic ignition on the distributor, Dakota Digital senders, and an aluminum radiator. Funny story about this. When I was driving it from Phoenix to the White Mountains, I did not have a strong enough alternator to run this electric fan. This electric fan has a pretty big draw. It's about 3,000 CFM. I mean, these things run pretty hot anyway. Plus, if you're pulling and with 410 gears and MP 435, like your revs are going to be up there. So I wanted to be able to cool pretty well. So I did the electric fan and I did this aluminum radiator from Engineered Cooling Products. And I will say hats off to those guys. And let me tell you why. When I was driving it from Phoenix to the White Mountains and I was making I don't know, there's a point in the drive on the 260 where you have to climb up to 7,700 feet. And at the point that I was doing that, my alternator, my battery meter was reading like 10 volts. So this fan wasn't really working that hard or wasn't working very well at all. And I had a 55 amp alternator when I left Phoenix. When I got to Payson, I stopped at the O'Reilly's, asked them, hey, do you guys have any alternator that's bigger than this? So I wasn't getting enough charge to the battery. This fan was just drawing so much that it was slowly killing the battery. So I figured, okay, well, let's see what happens. O'Reilly's and Payson had a 60 amp alternator. So I said, fine, that's all you got, just give it to me. So I changed it in the parking lot in Payson and then got on the 260 there and started making the climb. As soon as I hit 7,700 feet, I was watching my battery meter go down and I figured once I get to 6 volts, I isn't even going to run this distributor, so I'm going to be done. Let's just get as far as we can get and then we'll call for help if we need to. So at 7,700 feet, I made the climb. My fan was probably the battery meter on the climb from the biggest part to climb to Forest Lakes is a pretty steep climb. And my battery meter at that point was reading like 8 volts. So this fan wasn't working very hard. All the cooling that I had was from this Engineered Cooling Products aluminum radiator. And I know they had good radiators, so that's why I went with them. They don't sponsor us, they don't plug us, they don't do nothing for us, but I will say that their radiator was awesome. As I was making that climb, I was hitting like 240 degrees. Like I was ready to blow a gasket, blow the head gasket, blow this thing up, trying to get up here. It actually held together pretty well. The only cooling I really had wasn't coming from the fan. It was coming from this radiator. And that's actually really good. I was really impressed, although I didn't make it. It sucked, but I was actually really impressed with Engineered Cooling Products. I put another one of their radiators in my Mustang. Again, that's a 408 engine with a Torque Storm supercharger. I mean, that thing produces some heat too. So ECP makes some pretty good radiators. I was impressed and I was really happy. They made a converter out of me. I'll tell you that much. 2 for 2. But anyway, so this is the 460. So it's been awesome. And once I got towed to the cabin in Show Low, I ordered from the Jungle website this 140 amp alternator, and that's been pretty bulletproof. That's running this fan all day, every day, producing heat, going in the hills, whatever. Like no problem with that one. I think it's from PowerMaster. I'll put links and stuff in the description, but so that worked out, and this ECP radiator was aces. So that's it. That's the 460. Let's take a look at the inside. All right, so let me take you through. So I really like the patina on this truck. So when we did everything underneath, you can see we painted all the frame rails when we rebuilt everything. You probably saw from the underside, we really took the time to go through. We had the front clip off, and I didn't get the cab off because I didn't have enough height clearance. in my shop. So that part sucked, but we really like the patina on this, so we ended up getting Vice Grip Garage's Wipe On Clear. I like his stuff and really wanted to support him, and this was a perfect opportunity. This is the perfect truck for that type of clear coat. It was a dairy farm truck, so there's a logo. So we kept that too, and we'll just put the clear over it and keep that. Let me take you through the inside. As I said, it was a one-of-one original truck. When we pulled the VIN got the Marty report for it, it turned out to be a one-of-one. And what made it a one-of-one was this sliding rear window in the back. That's what sealed the deal. Kept it as rugged as we could. Let me hike up in here. As I mentioned, Dakota Digital gauges. So that's nice. All digital gauges, digital senders up top or up front. Put in a retro design stereo. So Bluetooth. We added some speakers. Because it was a one-of-one truck, I didn't want to drill too many holes for the speakers. I just wanted to keep it as original. This was pretty funny. This is took a page out of the Vice Grip Garage playbook because there wasn't any vents underneath. It was just full of rat poop, and when I rewired it, I had to vacuum and use a paintbrush to get all that out of there. And I was aiming for every last single. I was after every turd. And but there were no vents. The heater blower works, so I wired it directly to the battery on this fuse link switch. So if you turn this on, you got your heater blower working. So that'll help in the winter. That's a Vice Grip Garage playbook. Taking a page out of the Vice Grip Garage playbook. Thanks a lot, Derek. So other than that, this is a farm truck. It was a dairy farm truck. We kept the bullet hole in the windshield. That adds character. But yeah, it was a mess, and now it's just going to be a lot of fun. So we've had a ton of fun working on it. You know, there's more to do, obviously. Could redo all of the stuff on the inside, redo the interior door cards, and we did put some weather stripping on here, so it did have some fresh weather stripping. We didn't tackle the visors. Who needs visors? Nobody uses visors, except when the sun's in your face. Maybe that's true. Other than that, all rewired American Autowire. This is a solid truck now. It actually does really well up here in the White Mountains. With the 460 and MP 435 and Dana 24 and 410 rear wheels, this thing will pull a house down. No problem going to the mason yard and getting a couple thousand pounds of bricks to throw in here. This thing does great. On this truck, we use the L&L Products conversion for the 460 to the MP 435. They have a pretty good kit. You get a clutch, a pressure plate. They send you the motor mounts for a 460. They send you the pilot bearing, which actually incidentally didn't work. The pilot bearing, I had to get a smaller pilot bearing to fit deeper into the crankshaft, and then I had to turn an adapter and then put the small pilot bearing into my own adapter, and I had to turn that and set it in there. But once I did that, that seemed to work pretty well. So I had to do a little bit of adaptation there. But the kit came with pretty much everything you need, but you do need to use a 351M 400 bell housing. So I picked one of those up. I found it on eBay with the clutch fork and all of that. But then all you really need is a throwout bearing and pilot bearing, and you're pretty much good to go. So we pulled off the original motor mounds, put on their 460 motor mounds. That pretty much bolted right up. Everything bolted right up. I would recommend the kit. Again, they don't plug us, they don't do nothing for us, but that was actually a really good kit to use. I was happy with it. So before we take this thing out, I also ordered a Holley off-roading carburetor. So I think I'm going to throw that on. So here's our Holley 670 CFM off-roading carburetor. I'll take this out here. I made a couple modifications before I throw it on. One, I rejetted it. Came with a 66, came with a 68, and I changed it to a 65. I don't have an AFR gauge, so I calculated that. If you're interested in knowing how I calculated it, throw it in the comments, and I can post another video, walk everybody through the formulas. So I did that, and I put a little quick change AN fitting on the carburetor that's on there now, so I can pop this off and put on the new carb, tie it in here, put on my linkage, choke, good to go. So let's do that. So before everyone starts going buck wild in the comments telling me that I should have put on an EFI system instead of taking my carburetor and rejetting it for altitude and having a second carburetor for down in the Phoenix Valley, let me tell you why I didn't. Years ago, I bought a Phytech EFI system and the thing never ran right. I couldn't get it to run right. I looked up, there were some recalls on them. I had the technical support wasn't very good. And finally, I gave up and just bought a carburetor and put it on there. And you know, I've been tuning carburetors for a lot longer than I've been messing with EFI systems. And if you know a carburetor and you can do some simple math, carburetor will never let you down. They've been around a whole lot longer. And years ago, I went to one of the Good Guys auto shows in Phoenix. One of them was sponsored by Phytech, and I wandered over to the Phytech booth and talked to them about, hey, you know, I had this EFI system. You know, it was like $1,500-1,800 bucks. The darn thing wasn't cheap. And their response to me was, oh yeah, we don't sell that anymore. It was a terrible product and don't use it. Oh, okay. Now I know Holley Sniper and their Sniper 2 are kind of leading in that area, but you know, ever since that point, I've never been willing to spend money on an EFI system. Now, if the good folks at Holley want to give me an EFI system, that would be a different story. But I'm not chomping at the bit to put on another EFI. I'll make a deal with you all though. If enough folks like and subscribe this video, and I'll go take it to Holley and see what they'll offer me, even if they just give me a discount. I'm not saying that they drop it in my lap for nothing. If they give me a good enough discount on it, I'll get it, I'll put it on here, and we'll talk all about it. But until then, I'm sticking with my carburetor, even if one or two carburetors need to do the trick. So let's do that. All right, so because we're at elevation, I had to do a couple of things. I had to adjust the idle mixture. Out of the box, it's pretty close, but because we're at 6,500 feet, we had to adjust that just a little bit. And the fast idle was sticking, so I had to adjust that. That was actually why it was idling so high when I just stuck this on here and fired it up. I couldn't figure out why that was, that was the issue. So I didn't have a wire connector. I have to go to O'Reilly's and get some wire connectors. So I just used a wire cap to get my electric choke connected to the American Autowire harness, and that's it. So now there are no leaks, no vacuum leaks. I also adjusted the accelerator pump just a little bit. But other than that, everything's pretty dialed in, so we can go ahead and fire it up. I also didn't have a vacuum gauge. So if you have a vacuum gauge, you could do this in 10 minutes, but because you have to do it by ear and slowly adjust each idle mixture a little bit at a time, and then let it settle, and then listen to it until you get a nice smooth idle. I think it's pretty smooth, so here, let's fire it up. Pretty smooth. This might still be sticking. Pretty good. Runs like a grandfather clock. Dialed in like a Swiss watch. Like a top. That's all I got. So you get the message. Carburetor swap. Running great.